Yo, people, welcome back to DR Sports Transfers. I am your host to do the most and never coast, Matisse in the building. Listen, we've got a lot to discuss. Big up the chat. Listen, let's start with the breaking news. Let's start with the announcements, of course, with Spence to Tottenham. And obviously, Zinchenko is about to join Arsenal. He's about to leave the Manchester City training ground, say his goodbyes and make his way to Arsenal today, later on tonight. And I'm sure then the official announcement will come. But Spence has been announced already. Listen, I'm very intrigued on this one because I do feel like this is a position that they were very weak in last season. Obviously, Emerson Royale going back and forth, not really showing anything in the attacking third or the defensive third. I thought at least Serge Aurier was good going forward. Of course, this is the same team that let go of Kyle Walker-Peters as well. They've been struggling in the fullback area since Trippier, Walker, down that right-hand side. Kyle Walker-Peters has gone on to be a very, very good player at Southampton. He played on both sides this season. So I'm interested to see. I don't know how Spence is going to do because I'm not going to lie to you. Tottenham's recruitment in the fullback areas has been a little bit all over the place over the last couple of years. Obviously, Serge Reguilon on the left, he struggled as well. He could be going. Sessegnon, they signed on the left from Fulham. He didn't really kick on. But now it's Conte, and he knows how to use his wing backs. At Chelsea, he turned Victor Moses and Marcus Alonso into world-class, world beaters. Do you know what I mean? Of course, at Inter Milan as well, he was using wing backs. So he knows what he wants at the wing back position. I think Perisic is great on the left. So I'm thinking Spence on the right. Like I said, 12.5 million plus add-ons rising below the 20 million belt line. So I think personally, you would expect it would go well. Make sure you smash up the likes for sure. So Spencer's signed, that's been announced. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he does the business for Tottenham. Obviously, they got Doherty as well. So maybe I'm thinking some rotation there because obviously Doherty did have a decent end to the campaign as well. So that's one to keep an eye on. With Zinchenko, that's been basically done now. He's obviously arriving at Arsenal, like we said. This has been news that's been, just building pace for the last couple of days. And now it's officially done. I think 30 million is a good price. I really do. I think it's a good price. It's not overblown. In this market, you kind of have to expect to pay that. I'm not sure how many years he had left on that contract of his, but I don't think it was running out. It was never mentioned alongside with the Mahrezes and the Sterlings and, these type of players here. So even Gabriel Jesus, all of them were running out of contract in 2023. So I think Zinchenko is an interesting one. I don't know if he's a needle mover. I don't think he scares, Manchester United or Chelsea. I don't think he's the type of player that's going to, send shivers down people's spines. But he's definitely a good player to add into your squad. He could easily start games, but then, like I said, I don't think he outrightly starts. He definitely has to work hard for that position. Other players, I don't think they're going to see him as somebody who just walks into the 11. But, if Xhaka's not performing, if Tierney's not fit, then you could say, listen, Zinchenko more than capable of coming in and doing the business. Another technical player that Arteta knows very well. So I think that's a smart move. Now, also on the Chelsea front, Barkley's been offered to Aston Villa as well as Everton. Listen, we shall see. We shall see because he was on loan at Aston Villa last season. Was it last season? I think it was last season. And Grealish, or maybe the season before, he was teamed up with Grealish. First couple of games, it was looking good. And then it never really kicked on from there. And it's a player that he's in his last year. Does he really want to lose his paying salary to move now? I don't really feel he does. I feel like he's quite happy to see out his last year. There are some players that will just run their contracts down. Is he interested in really playing first team football? He's nowhere near the England squad right now. He's kind of just plateauing. So as much as he's been offered to Aston Villa and Everton, will they want to pay his wages? Does he even want to move? These are questions that have to be asked. Obviously, Everton under Frank Lampard, that's a club that he was at before. I don't know if he really fits in. They've got Dele Alli, who they signed up last season. How are they going to utilize him? And then Villa, they've had him already, and they decided not to make that permanent with the loan that they had with him, with Jack Grealish. So they had a little chemistry, like I said, a little partnership for a few games, and then it just went. So I don't really see these clubs going in for him. But maybe if it's a loan deal, or I'm sure it will be very cheap. I don't think he's obviously worth any more than 10 million max, and you could say maybe 5 million, to be honest, with 1 year left on his contract. So it would be a cheap deal. I'm sure it's the wages that you have to supplement. But let's see what the comments are saying before we move into the next topic. All you guys have done is sign Manchester City bench players, and the only player you've tried to sign with any real world-class quality chose United over you. Wow, that's a big comment, a big comment. Listen, when it comes to Martinez, I think it's tough to say whether he's world-class yet. You know, let's see what he does outside of the Eredivisie. He's obviously a very talented player. I think he's going to do very well under Ten Hag. Obviously, he knows him very well. Very gifted player. But I feel like world-class does get dashed around a bit too much. Let's see what he does at Manchester United before we throw around the world-class tag. I do think it's a very shrewd signing from them because he can fill in a lot of positions. That left side centre-back position, even the left-back position if need be, although they signed someone else. And obviously in the pivot, I think he could do very well and give them a little bit of balance defensively, which they haven't had really since Nemanja Matic maybe was in his prime. If he was ever in his prime at Manchester United, to be honest, I feel like Chelsea sold him at a good period. But I think world-class is a tag to throw. Now, listen, Gabriel Jesus, I think is a very smart signing. I think to throw that off is a little bit premature. But we shall see how they get on. I always say with Manchester City, you may be taking, or we also may be taking bench players from them, but their bench is better than most people's starting 11, and their bench probably finishes in the top 4. I was going through their starting 11 or their bench 11 last week, and I was thinking to myself, this team doesn't really finish outside the top 4 under the right manager. Yeah, they probably finish top 4. So it's not, and what are we all trying to achieve? Top 4. So it's actually quite embarrassing on our part, but it's the facts of the matter at the end of the day. Their bench players go into our starting 11s, improve us and help us get top 4, which is probably where that bench team would go. So let's see. Martinez is a warrior. This super chat from Mark, much appreciated for the support. City used to sign many Arsenal players. Are they all world class? That's a good point. City signed Sanya, they signed Toure, they signed Clichy, they signed Nasri, Adebayor. So City have signed a lot of Arsenal players, and again, that's when maybe the tables were turned a little bit. I guess Arsenal was still going for top 4, but City were also back then, I believe, still kind of floating around that 3rd, 4th, and then obviously trying to go to title contenders. They were signing a lot of Arsenal players, but they were signing starters, to be fair. That's the one argument someone will put back at you. They were signing starters. Every player I just named there basically was a starter for Arsenal, so they were taking starters. But anyway, let's get on to Manchester City. Good segue there. They have an official bid ready for Brighton in terms of Cucurella. He's always been Guardiola's top left-back target. Now, also in terms of other targets, I did see Sosa was on that list as well. Available, I think, for quite cheap. The left-back market is quite strong at the moment. You've got Kostic as well, I think, going into his final year at Frankfurt, if you've got to catch any Europa League games this season. He's got really good metrics in terms of going forward. So there's actually quite a decent amount of left-sided players available. Goossens was available before he went to Inter Milan in January. He's obviously the replacement for Perisic this season there. He was at Atalanta. So there's actually quite a few options. This question here, who's better, Martinez or Zinchenko? Listen, I think in terms of ceiling, I'd probably say Martinez has the higher ceiling. But listen, Martinez hasn't played in the Premier League. Zinchenko has. So it will be interesting to see how Martinez adapts. That's what I'll say. Many a time players haven't adapted to this league. They've struggled. Manchester United has been a real struggling ground for a lot of people. So we'll see how he adapts. But he's got his manager. So it'll be interesting. Zinchenko does have experience on his side. So I think in terms of ceiling, I'd probably give it to Martinez. But yeah, potential and ability and all these things, it depends on whether you actually settle personally and all these things as well. So it's not as clear cut. But in terms of Cucurella, listen, let's see how long it takes for that official offer to go in for Cucurella. It's been quite a few weeks now. We've been discussing this. Maybe they've been waiting for Manchester City to get rid of Zinchenko first before they make that official move for Cucurella. That would make the most sense. Obviously, they've got Ake who can cover in the left-back area. Cancelo can go left-back as well if need be. But Cucurella was player of the year for Brighton. Very, 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 very impressive first season. A player that Barcelona fans really do regret letting go of as well. He was part of their squad, I think, before that loan to Getafe. And obviously now they're looking at left backs. So they've made a mistake there for sure, letting him go. And he's had a great year. And I think he's the type of player that would suit Guardiola perfectly, because he's so good technically, and very underspoken about the fact that this guy played in the left side of a back three quite a few times for Brighton. So defensively, clearly quite reliable as well. So not just going forward. And this foot golf thing will never leave me. How many episodes are we in now? 4. Let's get these churned out, Turkish. Yeah, let's get these episodes out quickly. I'm not trying to hold any more corn. Give your honest opinion. Who's finishing higher, United or Arsenal? Listen, I can't answer that question until I see the end of the transfer window, guys. Let's see who everybody brings in. I don't want to get clipped up. Do you know what I mean? I see what you're doing. So yeah, let's see how long it takes. I think Cucurella to Man City is pretty much on. We're expecting that to probably get done once that bid goes in. I did hear murmurs that he would sign a new contract with a release clause. Obviously, Man City do like dealing with a release clause. They did the same with Haaland. Just easier, no negotiations, no problems. But I don't know. We'll see how that one pans out. Also, Manchester United have been told they would have to shell out another 40 million to seal a deal for Kyle Walker-Peters this summer. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's probably what he's valued at right now. That's probably quite an accurate valuation. He's obviously quite young. You've got the English tax on top of that as well. He can play both sides, as he's shown this season. When Livramento was fit, he played on the left, and he was still very, very good on the left-hand side for Southampton. Before Livramento's ACL injury. So he's shown this season that he's quite adaptable, and he's really matured in his game. And Southampton is obviously a very good place to go and pick up players, because they develop them very, very well with their facilities. I think for Manchester United, do they need to spend 40 million on Kyle Walker-Peters? I'm not sure. Of course, they signed that new left back from Feyenoord. They also have the Dalot at right back. I think he was playing in today's preseason game. They haven't really given him maybe enough opportunities. So it'll be interesting. There's a lot of good English right backs, man. There's a lot. You've got Tariq Lamptey, who I think has just changed nationality to Ghana. You've got Reece James. You've got Trent. You've got Walker. You've got Trippier. You've got, Wan-Bissaka was in this conversation, and he's kind of dropped off a little bit. Who else is there? There's probably more that I'm forgetting. Livramento at Southampton. He's obviously very young, but he's up and coming. And even like Max Aarons and players like this that were talked about. I'm probably forgetting quite a few, to be honest, because there is more. Kyle Walker-Peters definitely gets added to that list as well. So there's a lot of right-sided. There's a lot of right-footed. Spence, if Spence has a great season, then Spence immediately goes into that argument as well, into that conversation. So there's a lot of talented right backs. In fact, there's probably too many, if I'm being completely honest. There's too many, and a lot of them are having to look at their other nationalities and go for it, because there's not enough space. But yeah, in terms of Manchester United, it'll be interesting to see what they do here. I think, like I said, I think Dalot probably needs some more opportunities there on that side. Wan-Bissaka cost a lot. Mitchell at Palace is a great shout, obviously, for the left. So I think he probably needs his fair shake of the whip now. See if he can get some game time this season. He is very good going forward. I do like Dalot going forward. He definitely can mix it up. I don't know if he used to be a winger, because he does play a little bit like one. Defensively, I don't know whether he's good enough defensively. We'll have to see. But if you've got the right team around you in terms of your midfield, your right-sided defender, they can cover for you. We've seen it before. So it's an interesting one. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Someone said Tellers. Zinchenko is not even better than Tellers. That's mad. Do you know what's weird about Tellers as we're on Manchester United? Again, this is another player I want to see what they do with, because at Porto, he was banging in the goals, guys. He was scoring screamers, free kicks, I believe. He was, attacking wise, he was incredible. Now, defensively, we all knew that he had a little bit of lapses in defense, but he was great going forward. Maybe in a wing-back system, you could get the best out of Tellez and just tell him to focus on going forward with the crossing, etc. But again, did he really get his fair, amount of game time? Shaw's always been the guy that's got the opportunities down that side. So is there a case to say that Tellez needs another chance as well? I don't think he's a bad player, but listen, you could say at Porto, but the Portuguese league is throwing up some interesting talents right now. There's a lot of, if you look at this window alone, there must have been about 4 or 5 players signed from the Portuguese league, whether it be Arsenal, PSG, Liverpool in January. So listen, the Portuguese league is doing its thing right now. But that's Manchester United. Let's go back to Chelsea. Obviously, they've agreed personal terms with 23-year-old French international Jules Kounde. Now, to be honest, they agreed personal terms. It felt like years ago, to be honest. It's been at least a year. They were going for this player last summer, to the point where the player, I think, was actually at the airport waiting to have everything agreed. So he was just ready to get on that flight as it was getting near the end of the window. Then in January, again, Sevilla and Chelsea were talking, but Sevilla maybe put the price a bit too high, mid-season tax. And now this summer, it's actually more gone in the favor of Chelsea in a way, because Sevilla have almost been really waiting and asking for, where's this bid? You know, when are you going to put in this bid? We expected this bid to come. You said that you wanted the player, and Chelsea have kind of held off on that. He was a Marina target, is led to believe, more than a Tuchel target, although Tuchel is still happy to bring in the player and does like the player, but it was definitely more of a Marina target according to reports. And now what we're waiting on is, you know, that bid. And I think Barcelona, of course, are also interested. I don't know where they're getting the money from to pay for all these guys. I think that second economic levers come through. Maybe they're selling parts of the BLM. I'm not sure. But they're certainly, after signing Lewandowski, after signing Rafinha, I don't know whether they've registered these players. Dembele, obviously, new contract. Azpilicueta is moving quite close to a Barcelona move as well, it would seem, according to reports in Spain. So there's a lot going on there. Where does that leave Manchester United with De Jong? I mean, we're still waiting for updates on that one. Of course, Manchester United were pretty close, if not agreeing that fee with Barcelona. But then obviously personal terms is where the issue lies. And you have to agree personal terms with the player. Just because you agree a fee, it doesn't mean you're exactly going to get the player. Some people are saying to check Fabrizio Romano. Has he just put out a tweet, maybe something in the last few minutes? I'm not seeing anything as of yet. The last update from him was still the next steps for Zinchenko as a new Arsenal signing. So that's what we're waiting on, really, just for him to make those moves. If you're rating the window, yeah, he doesn't want the move. It's very true. He doesn't want the move. But the way Barcelona are pushing him out, he may have no choice as well. So, you know, it's a difficult one. So we've spoken about Kounde, obviously, as well. Another one is obviously Kimpembe. Now, that's another defender that Chelsea are looking at. Now, from PSG's side, it looks like they don't really mind what happens with Kimpembe. They're happy to keep him. They're also happy to let him go if the right fee comes in. It sounds like Kimpembe is quite happy and settled in Paris, but he's also open to a Premier League move as well to shake things up. So I think this is quite fluid, quite flexible. I think right now, Chelsea's priority is definitely on Jules Kounde, and then after that, they may go in for Kimpembe potentially, but that would definitely push Levi Colwill out the door. Like I said, on the last time I was on, Leicester are circling on that one. In terms of De Ligt as well, Bayern Munich, they're getting closer and closer. Of course, personal terms are agreed. Nagelsmann is really, really pushing for this signing. I saw a journalist speaking, I think it was a German reporter, saying that once this signing is complete, the bank is broken for Bayern Munich. So maybe don't expect any more signings from Bayern Munich. But then again, they are linked with strikers. They do need to replace Lewandowski, of course, up front. They definitely said the no on the Ronaldo move. Victor Osimhen was linked in as a replacement. I think he would be extremely expensive. What happens to Scamacca will be interesting as well. He was linked with West Ham. I think last week he was linked. But then obviously now the Broja links have really kicked up. And now it seems like Broja, who's flown back to London, I'm sure it would have been reported on here yesterday, has flown. Maybe Mane, yeah, maybe Mane could replace. That's a very good point. Mane could go up front. Gnabry, if Sané stays, then you've got your two wide options. You've got Coman as well. Not sure what they're looking like in the depth positions for that in terms of competition. But yeah, Mane could easily be replacing Lewandowski. So maybe the pressure is not really there. The stress is not really there to replace him outright. But maybe they're just seeing what opportunities will come up in the market. They have said no to Ronaldo, but they haven't actually said no. They're not bringing in a striker. But I think it's one of them situations where they're just looking to see if anything comes up. But De Ligt is such a perfect example of a padded, protected player, never goes to a challenging league at all. Wow, that's a really big statement. I mean, listen, when it comes to De Ligt, I think Italy would have been a challenge, to be fair to him. That is a league that I heard that he was going to kind of improve his just defensive, skills, his defensive skill set. Obviously, Italy is the birth of all great defenders, or most great defenders. Even, the likes of Thiago Silva has gone through that, Italian route with AC Milan. So there's a lot of great things to learn from Italian defenders and being in those systems and being in that league. I think that was the purpose of him going there. Obviously, when he went there now, he didn't foresee Juventus's drop-off. Juventus were obviously winning Serie A after Serie A after Serie A, and then out of nowhere they kind of just dropped off, and then the other Milan clubs kind of rose up. So he almost came in at a bad time. We're also still waiting on Lingard. Lingard, I guess this week he confirmed he wanted to have his future sorted to be in preseason training. Whether he's going to pick the Saudi Arabia bid, or I think most likely he'll probably stay in England, but we'll see what happens there. And that will be interesting. Also, for you football manager, because I know there's some football manager game players here. I used to play it a lot as well. Fabio Silva. Now, I know everybody likes picking up a wonder kid on Football Manager. This player was signed by Wolves, if you guys remember, for a pretty hefty fee way back when. And now he's going on a season-long loan to Anderlecht. Something tells me that this wasn't part of the plan for Fabio Silva at Wolves. I remember when he first came in from Porto, very, very exciting signing. Everybody was expecting that he wouldn't start games immediately, but he would certainly be eased into the team, given opportunities, and then maybe take the mantle from a Neto, from etc., those other forwards. We haven't really seen too much from him as of yet, but I think he's still young. Let me know exactly what age. But I'm not sure. I don't want to get that one wrong, but I think he's still got the time on his side. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. He scored 1 goal in 2 years. Wow, I didn't know it was that bad. Don't go hiding again if Chelsea don't sign players. Listen, I think we're not far away from probably maybe getting another one, so I won't be going anywhere. Phil Jones is a legend. I love him. He's class to watch. One of my favorites for sure. I'm guessing he's playing right now in that friendly against Palace. Bayern Munich's next signing, yes, will be Leminar from Leipzig. Yeah, I've seen that as well. So that would be interesting. The disrespect for other European leagues is hilarious. The Premier League's top players have come from them. Very true. Very true. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how he gets on. I don't know if this was part of the plan, but this is what is currently unfolding. So it will be interesting to see. There's a Colombian striker called Luis Suarez that Fabrizio tweeted about. I'm sure I'm not the only person that was potentially a little bit baited into that one, but it is not the Luis Suarez. It's the Colombian version, Colombian Suarez, who's going to Marseille as well. I definitely got baited by that. But yeah, like we said, in terms of Zinchenko and Spence, they're probably the headlines for the day. Zinchenko, 4-year contract, basically agreed. And, Spence long-term contract as well. That's Tottenham's 6th signing this summer. Will they make any more signings? It'll be interesting to see. I think they definitely need maybe a defender to come in, maybe just one centre-back. And then you could probably maybe make an argument for a creative midfielder as well. But listen, I think to get both, that would be quite impressive. I wouldn't be expecting that personally. And also, before I go, another one, Jonathan Klaus, who... I don't know how many of you guys will know about Jonathan Klaus, but, he had an incredible season at Lens. You may have seen him in the Nations League for France over the summer. He's kind of, I guess his career has kind of taken a while to get going, but he's kind of started to peak now in his latter years, and he's really, really kicked on. Jonathan Klaus had a great season, one of Europe's top performing fullbacks in terms of attacking metrics last season, and he's going to Marseille, but he was linked with Manchester United and Chelsea. But neither of them in the end made an actual bid. And to be fair, that's quite surprising considering Lens have accepted an €8 million bid. It's very cheap for this player whose contract was running out in 2023 at Lens. Like I said, he's had probably about two very, very good seasons. He was in the French squad for the Nations League. I'm quite surprised that neither Chelsea or Manchester United, if they're looking at, the right side, right back, Chelsea, Azpilicueta, Manchester United maybe replacing Wan-Bissaka. I'm quite surprised neither of them went in because he's incredibly cheap and experienced. So it's quite surprising. But yeah, that's been confirmed that he's going to be going to Marseille. I think he's undergoing his medical now. You wouldn't really expect a hijack at this point for the player. So that's it from me. Let's see if there's any more comments before we wrap up. I think, yeah, 5 goals, 11 assists, really good from a creative standpoint. So yeah, he had a really good season. Well, there we go. Listen, that's enough from me today. It's been a pleasure chatting to you guys. As always, it's been a great show. Lots going on. We shall see how these moves materialize. Zinchenko, I'm sure, will be confirmed. Cucurella, that bid we're waiting for. And from a Chelsea perspective, bids on Kounde as well. I think they had a bid rejected for Kounde. They have to go in with a higher bid. Sevilla not accepting that one. So yeah, until next time, big up yourselves. Make sure you subscribe, and peace, people. Big up.